I'm going to talk to you a little bit about a business plan competition experiment that was done in Nigeria. And so this was a program sort of looking at this issue of how do you identify the types of high growth, innovative people and support them and get them to grow in a country where there's a lot of market failures and a lot of problems, and this might be a difficult thing to do. So the problem when we look in most developing countries is not a problem of finding entrepreneurs. You walk down the street and there is just people hustling everywhere. There's people selling stuff, but the typical firm is incredibly small. The typical firm is just one person selling stuff. So these graphs here show the size distribution of firms in a couple of developing countries for which this type of data is available. And what you see is that it's all clumped at 0 to 10 workers. There's just hardly any firms in most developing countries that get beyond this 10 worker size. And so if we're thinking about how do you identify the types of people who have what it takes to grow those firms that are going to have more than 10 workers, and is there anything governments can do to support them, this is a big challenge in a lot of the places the World Bank works in. And so this is the key questions that we wanted to look at in the context of this program the bank was running with the government of Nigeria, which was, are there people out there that have what it takes to grow these bigger firms? And if so, can we identify them? How, in a country of 170 million people, surely there must be some people out there that have what it takes, but how on earth are you going to find those people in a country like Nigeria? And, is there anything we really can do to facilitate their growth and make them grow faster, or are the people that are going to succeed, succeed anyway? And so this is where the program that we worked on came in, and this program is called Ewing, Youth Enterprise with Innovation in Nigeria. So this is a program that was set up by the government in Nigeria, along with support from DFID and the World Bank, to try and create jobs and spur innovation. So the job creation and innovation were really the focus of this program. And to apply for this program, you had to be under 40. So I love this definition of youth. This was a very, very nice definition of youth. And you could apply either as somebody who had an existing business that really wanted to grow it and expand it, or you could apply as somebody with a new idea who really wanted to take off, for this idea to take off. Okay, and so this program was launched with much fanfare. It was launched by the president. There was sort of road shows and things. And what could you win? You could win a lot of money. So this was a competition, and the winners of this competition could win up to $64,000 each. On average, the winners got $50,000 in a country where per capita GDP is $3,000. Okay, so this is like giving $1 million prizes in the US, and it's a substantial amount of money. And you might wonder, what is this going to do? Is this money going to end up in Swiss bank accounts or funding people's nice holidays? If we think that most people don't have what it takes to grow a large firm, what's going to happen if I give somebody a lot of money to grow a large firm? They're going to either put it into something that fails, or they're going to use that money and spend it on themselves rather than on their business. If I think that there's a few people out there who are really innovative and are going to grow their firms anyway, maybe if I just give them money, it's not going to do anything. They were going to grow anyway. It's just like me throwing money at Apple or at Google. It doesn't actually help. So this is the question, is there actually a class of people out there who could have what it takes, but only will have what it takes if we give them this support? And so this is the reason for doing an experiment here, is to try and learn, is this type of policy working or not? And so the way this worked, the way we conducted this RCT, was people had to apply online. So there was 24,000 people that applied online. And then the top 6,000 of these applicants, according to their scores based on this initial application, got selected to go to a 4-day business plan training. So they had to go and learn how to write a more detailed business plan. Then these business plans that they submitted got scored. And so 4,800 people submitted these plans, and these plans were much more detailed. They had their financial projections. They had why these, what their background was, what their idea was, what their, SWOT analysis was, all this sort of good stuff that we like to have in business plans, and these business plans all got scored. Okay, and so then out of these business plans, we took the top 2,400, and there was regional preferences here, and there was a preference for existing rather than current firms, because the people behind the program had this idea that if you've already got a firm going, it's probably more likely that it's going to continue and succeed than somebody who just comes in with a new idea. So this was again something that we can test through this experiment. Is that belief correct or not? And then this is where the randomization came in. So I had to try and persuade them that even though this is a competition, we really want to be choosing some of the winners randomly, but not completely randomly. We want to, I said, there's going to be a few firms that really might stand out that you probably want to support for sure. They, nobody likes getting the number one firm and saying we're not going to support you. So there was a small number that became national winners. The top 300 in the country became national winners. Then they wanted to make sure they had a few winners from each of the 6 regions, just so they could sort of show that. But then out of the rest, I said, well, it's very hard. Different people are going to have different rankings. These people have put these applications on paper. They've already got to this stage where they're in this top 2,400 out of 24,000 applicants. Let's just give everyone a fair and equal chance, and so have a lottery amongst them to decide who can be the rest of the winners. And so that's what we did, and that's the randomized experiment. So we have 1,800 firms here. 720 of them are chosen to get $50,000. 1,100 were very similar to them and are randomly chosen not to. So this allows us to see, what is this program doing? And so what does it do? First of all, does it actually lead to get people to start businesses that they would have not otherwise started? So here, it's very easy. This is one of the advantages of experiments. I can just show you a graph of means, and you can easily see what the results are. Very easy to explain to policymakers. Very easy to there's no fancy econometrics here. What you see is that the people who are in this treatment group, the people who were randomly selected to win, are much more likely to start a firm than the people who were otherwise similar and were not selected. And so I have 3 rounds of surveys here. These are sort of year 1, year 2, and year 3 after people applied. The last round is about 18 months after people had got all the money. And so the money was paid out in 4 tranches. So it sort of started getting paid out during the first year, finished by the end of the second year, and then there's a year or so afterwards. And so what you see is by the end of this third round, the people that received this money who had new business ideas were about 37 percentage points more likely to be running a firm than the people who didn't receive the money. If you had an existing firm, likewise, I see you are much more likely to survive those 3 years. You're about 20 percentage points more likely to survive those 3 years if you received this money than if you didn't. What about this key thing that the government was really worried about? What about employment? Are these firms going to create jobs? And in particular, are they going to create enough jobs that they're sort of getting past this threshold of I'm just a 1 or 2 person firm, and really I'm growing to that SME status. So what I have here is the likelihood that you get to have 10 or more workers. You can see this. So just to put this in context, in Nigeria as a whole, 0.5% of firms have 10 or more workers. Okay, 0.5%. So what you see is this competition's pretty good at getting the types of firms who are going to get beyond that level. So even amongst the existing firms who, when they applied, had 5 workers on average, you see that 20% of them have got to this 10 or more worker level. But what you see is that giving people this assistance, giving people this help, really increases that by about 20 percentage points. So that's a massive increase in a country where 0.5% of firms get to 10 or more workers. And you see similar, even larger increases in this likelihood for the new firms. So again, this screening, this process of having people apply online, go through this business plan preparation, go through this scoring, the people that we end up with at the end of that in the control group, they're much more likely to start a larger firm or to get a firm that will grow to that stage than the average firm in the country. But there seems to be a lot of people out there who, if you could give them this assistance, would also be able to get there but wouldn't get there without this assistance. So you see here, again, 20 percentage point increases in the likelihood you get to 10 or more workers for those winners in this program. And what are these winners doing? They're also innovating a lot more. We see them, particularly these new firms, they're developing new products, they're bringing new products to market, they're doing some process innovation, they're selling more, they're more profitable. Basically, this money is not, getting wasted on supporting people who are going to succeed anyway, or people who are never going to succeed and are just failing and taking the money and run. This money does seem to be generating, new jobs and new innovation in Nigeria. And so, here's an example where doing the RCT allows us to see that, hey, this is a program that seems to be working, and as a result, the government's run this program for a subsequent 2 years, and there's been a change in government, and you know what happens normally when there's a change in government, right? Anything that's associated with the old government tends to be, out of here. We're not so interested in that. But because of these results, even though there's a new government, there's now something that says, hey, there was a program that seemed to be working, and so, the World Bank and the Nigerian government are currently, working on a fourth round of this program, even though there's a new administration in place. And so it's much harder to sort of kill a program that seems to be working if you've got results like this that show, that it's having this effect, than it would be if, they were handing out money and who knows what happens, and let's figure out a new way of handing out money. So I'm going to stop there, well ahead of time, but we'll hand over to next. Thanks.